The police service, together with most other organisations across the public and private sectors, has long used an appraisal system to improve performance and develop its staff. Whilst the process or the forms used will vary, the basic formula of an appraisal remains the same. That's preparation, discussion and agreement. However, within these three areas, a vital common denominator is present. It's the need to have a conversation. Conversations, both formal and informal, should carry on throughout the year and are the cornerstone to successful personnel management and development. They allow us, as individuals or managers, to reflect on work undertaken, tasks completed, and plan for future career goals. Whilst MPIA and your own force will have published guidance in this area, it's not always easy to find and then understand what the purpose of an appraisal meeting is, or how it might be conducted. However, whilst an appraisal is based on an agreed and mutually understood process, every appraisal will be slightly different, as it should reflect the needs of the individual and, through the line manager, reflect the needs of the service. Over time and with experience, you will come to find what works best for you. But the films that follow are designed to look at these conversations and show how, as an individual being appraised or as a line manager conducting an appraisal, you can get the most from the process. In these films, we will look at the role of the individual and line manager in the appraisal process. There'll be examples of good and not so good practice, the need for preparation, tips on managing difficult conversations, and setting smart objectives. Remember, the key to a meaningful appraisal is having an open conversation that follows on from a succession of formal or informal conversations in the workplace. To succeed, whether you are appraising a member of staff or being appraised, you need to prepare. You need to be engaged, and you must be open to the need to develop. Whilst I am sure that you will find these films informative, they're deliberately limited to the conversational aspect of the appraisal process and do not replace local force policy or guidelines. If you are in any doubt, always seek advice from within your own human resources or learning and development team as to the process within your force area.
Unless you are your own boss, most people, whether they're in the private or public sector, will engage in an annual appraisal process. However, many see it as a negative process that is time-consuming, offers little to those involved, and is merely ordered from on high to please the HR department. This view is common across many organisations, but have you actually considered how they should be viewed? What it means to you as the individual, or how it assists the line manager? There are significant benefits to be had through an effective appraisal, and today I hope to show you how these benefits can assist you. Whilst an appraisal is viewed as a management tool to improve performance or support the strategic direction of an organisation, the focal point of the process is the individual being appraised. So let's start there.
The appraisal process is about you. It's about how you work within the organisation and about how you develop your skills within your role. However, it's also about you developing your career and is a structured opportunity for you to shape this development. As such, you are the driving force behind what happens to you, and the appraisal process is the mechanism by which you can plan and, so far as is possible, achieve your goals. Now, this is not to say that you will get everything that you want. You won't, because there has to be some management in all of our expectations. But your participation in your appraisal is likely to make attainment of your goals more likely. Just as organisations change, we as individuals change throughout our career. This does not necessarily mean a change of role or occupation. Many people are very happy in their current role and do not want to change. But this is not a reason to opt out of being in charge of your career or the need to develop new skills in the role that you're happy in. So for you to have a successful appraisal, you need to be clear about your role within it. We will look at the preparation and the review phase in detail later, but as a minimum, you need to be able to answer a number of forward-looking questions before you enter into the appraisal meeting. What do you want? Is it a promotion, a transfer, an opportunity to learn something new? Are you happy where you are, or would you like to be challenged a little bit more in your role? Is it something that you can achieve in a defined period, or will it have to be broken up into a number of small steps? Do you need an intermediate qualification, a training course, mentoring, or a learning opportunity to get you to that starting point? Now, you may want to secure a new skill in bricklaying, but unless you are in a job where this is a requirement, you're unlikely to get support from your manager. Having answered these questions, you are more likely to argue your case persuasively and thereby control the direction of your career development.
The role of line manager is somewhat more complex. With an appraisal process, you're determining the competency or otherwise of the individual, managing, developing and improving their performance, and ensuring that they work as part of the team. The appraisal meeting should fall into 3 parts: the review of past performance, the development of the individual, and the future development need. Again, we'll look at preparation in detail later on, but for now, you should consider how you will manage this process. It's important that you review and cover all of the issues that you as a manager believe are relevant. You may find some of the following questions helpful. What evidence do you require to allow you to make a managerial judgment on performance? What do you need to consider in terms of equality? What areas of performance do you wish to highlight for praise or further development? Remember, nothing should come as a surprise. Praise and challenges should be dealt with at the time. Reintroduction of the subject should be with a view to see what learning has come out of the issues. Is a formal development plan required to support the individual? And how does your management of this individual contribute to the wider management of the team, unit or force?
As individuals and line managers, we need to have a good understanding of what's realistic in terms of development. Many will want to be promoted or selected for a very specialist role, but due to numbers, cost, or other external factors, the reality is that only a few can actually attain it. That's not to say we should not try, or that managers should not support within reason such ambitions. But ambition must be tempered against the likelihood of roles becoming available, the benefit or impact on the wider team, and/or any financial implications. Most individuals are realistic in their requests, but as a manager you may sometimes have to say no. The reasons for saying no are varied. You may already have a full complement of police drivers on your team, you may not need another project manager, or what's being asked may be outside of what's beneficial to the organisation. Few managers find saying no easy, particularly to a person they know well, but it is part of your responsibility to honestly manage the expectations of the individual against the requirements of the police service. But just saying no should not be the end of it. It's your responsibility as a manager to establish what else could or should be done to open up development opportunities. This is not just formal training or courses, but access to softer skills, such as coaching or mentoring, etc. Whilst it may be your responsibility to provide these opportunities, it's the responsibility of the individual to accept these opportunities and develop.
There is a misconception that appraisal conversations need to be formal, and whilst most organisations mandate at least one formal meeting per year, informal or ad hoc meetings provide an equal opportunity for checking, reviewing and furthering development. Formal meetings are just that, They are planned with a specific location and time period to allow both the manager and the individual to prepare, and then within the meeting to discuss barriers or progression. We will look at this in more detail in the next film. However, for now, let's look at the informal meeting. Most, but not all, managers work in reasonably close proximity to their staff. There is often weekly or even daily interaction that allows performance to be noted, commented upon, or recorded for later discussion. An informal meeting is normally used by a line manager and can be held for any number of reasons, but in the main, they fall into three areas. Checking. This is where the conversation is about how the individual is progressing or whether they're encountering any barriers. You may want to check how someone is progressing in a task, but equally, you may want to be checking because you've noted a change in their performance or personality. Of course, the individual can ask for an informal meeting to check that they are progressing or to highlight problems they're encountering. Immediate praise. You may want to praise someone for good work and should do so at the time or as close to as is possible. This could take place in private or in front of the office. Whilst we don't want to embarrass people, everyone likes to be praised or to be recognised for their contribution, but not so often that it becomes devalued because you praise everyone all the time. Public praise can also be a motivator to others, but again is a question of knowing your staff and how best to motivate them. Immediate challenge. From time to time you will see or become aware of performance issues that need to be addressed. These must be done as soon as possible, but always in private. We'll look at challenging meetings later, but for now, as a line manager, a meeting for these purposes should be used to question the individual's actions, explain why they are being challenged, and agree a way forward. So to summarise, the key areas are: an appraisal is easy to get wrong, and in doing so can have an impact far beyond what is said in the room. Both the line manager and the individual must plan what they want to discuss. You must decide what evidence or information you require to determine competency of the person being appraised. There must be an open understanding on both sides as to what is realistic in terms of development. There is a place for informal meetings to check, praise, or challenge.